The largest organism in the world is a giant mushroom in Oregon's Malheur National Forest. Its root system is the size of 1,500 football fields, and it might be as much as 8,000 years old. The Costa Rican glass frog has transparent skin, allowing you to see its organ structure. A bite from the Brazilian wandering spider can cause men to have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. There have been no recorded fatal attacks of wild orcas on humans. In 2005, a 12-year-old boy in Alaska was bumped by a killer whale while splashing in 4 feet of water. The boy was likely mistaken for a seal, and the bump was an aborted attack once the whale realized its mistake. All 4 times that humans have been killed by orcas were in captivity. Nicknamed White Death, Finnish sniper Simo Häyhä killed over 500 Soviet soldiers during the Winter War. He did it in less than 100 days using nothing but a hunting rifle with no scope. When asked what he felt while killing an enemy soldier, he responded, "The recoil." This was the breastplate of 19-year-old Antoine Frevaux. He was struck and killed by a cannonball while serving under Napoleon Bonaparte during the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. These German prisoners of war were forced to watch a film on the atrocities of the Holocaust. Many of them were outright horrified and even burned their Nazi uniforms after watching the footage. Before making his name in Hollywood, Rob Riggle served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 23 years. He received several awards and commendations for his service in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Liberia. This is how enemy aircraft was detected before the invention of radar. During World War II, there was a Soviet woman whose husband was killed by the Nazis. To avenge her husband's death, the woman sold all of her possessions and bought a tank, which she nicknamed the Fighting Girlfriend. With permission from the Soviet Union, she hunted down Nazis with her own tank. A woman from Edinburgh, Scotland thought that her frequent nosebleeds were caused by a motorcycle accident. But one day she felt something poking out of her nose while she was taking a shower, and she found the culprit. A 3-inch long leech had been living in her nostril for more than a month. Pool drains are literally powerful enough to suck your organs right out of your body, and it's one of the grisliest ways in which people have died. Starting in the 16th century, the Catholic Church used to castrate young Italian boys to preserve their high-pitched singing voices. Alessandro Moreschi, aka the Last Castrato, sang until his death in 1921. Pablo Escobar's nephew still lives in one of the drug lord's apartments in Medellin. He recently found $18 million in cash hidden away in a plastic bag behind a wall. He told Colombian media that a vision told him where to look for the cash. A Russian man who tried to rob a hair salon ended up as the victim when the female shop owner overpowered him. She tied him up naked and used him as a sex slave for several days. Peruvian Mayor Jaime Rolando Urbina Torres broke the nationwide lockdown to go drinking with friends. When authorities attempted to apprehend him, the drunken mayor jumped into an empty coffin that was lying near him and pretended to be dead. In August of 1864, President Lincoln lost his hat when his horse was startled by a loud noise. The hat was recovered later with a bullet hole through the crown. The loud noise was apparently an assassination attempt by an unknown sniper. Ella Harper was born with an extremely rare genetic condition that curved her knees in the opposite direction. She was popular in sideshows and was known as Camel Girl because she preferred to walk on all fours. In 2009, Moscow native Julia Popova was stabbed in the neck by a mugger, but she was in so much shock that she walked home without even realizing that the knife was embedded in her, just millimeters from her spinal cord. She spent over an hour with the blade in her back before she went to the hospital. These extraterrestrial rocks were discovered in the sand of the Sahara. Libyan desert glass is one of the rarest minerals on Earth, and it's of unknown origin, since only a celestial impact or a nuclear explosion would have resulted in such a geological anomaly. Pieces of the extremely rare mineral were even found in the tomb of King Tut. This is what Saturn would look like if it were as close to Earth as the Moon. It's been estimated that there are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. But there are more atoms in one grain of sand than there are stars in the universe. When Southern California was hit with a massive power outage in 1994, a bunch of LA residents began to call 911 about strange clouds hovering overhead. In reality, they were just seeing the Milky Way for the first time. Infamous streaker Mark Roberts was sponsored by GoldenPalace.com to streak during Super Bowl 38. He was paid $1 million, given front row tickets, and was provided with one of the best defense attorneys in the US. He was able to reduce his charges down to a misdemeanor and a $1,000 fine. Brian Banks spent 6 years in prison before his alleged rape victim admitted that it never happened. This was the moment when he was exonerated. In 2006, 51-year-old Susan Walters was attacked by a hitman that her husband had hired to kill her. After finding out who sent him, she ended up killing him with her bare hands. Lieutenant Colonel A.J. Drexel Biddle was a master in hand-to-hand combat. He used to order his troops to surround him with bayonets before single-handedly disarming each of them without any of his own weapons. This photo of one such demonstration was taken in 1943. Tsar Bomba was the largest bomb ever set off by far. It produced a mushroom cloud 168 times taller than the Empire State Building. Its power output was 1.4% of the sun's, and it sent shockwaves that traveled around the Earth 3 times. After a battle in Vietnam, Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez had 37 puncture wounds, exposed intestines, and a broken jaw. He was pronounced dead until he spit in the face of a doctor who was zipping him up in a body bag. In 2007, the Coble family lost their 2 girls and 1 boy in a horrific car accident. A year later, the mother gave birth to triplets, 2 girls and 1 boy. The reason The Beauty and the Beast was written was to help young girls accept arranged marriages. This woman single-handedly buried and gave funerals to more than 40 gay men at the height of the AIDS epidemic. Many victims were never claimed by their families due to stigmas surrounding the disease. Denver Airport's Blue Mustang sculpture is nicknamed Blucifer because of its glowing red eyes. Just before it was unveiled in 2006, Blue Mustang's artist died after a 9,000-pound piece of the sculpture fell on him, adding credence to the theories that Blucifer is haunted or cursed. In 1963, 2 criminals in Mexico convinced local villagers that they were prophets and demanded worship and tribute. Prostitute Magdalena Solis was paid to imitate an Incan goddess as part of the scam. Suffering from religious delusion, she started to genuinely believe that she was a goddess. She soon took over the cult and started sacrificing her followers and drinking their blood. Horseshoe crabs have been around for 450 million years and have blue blood. Instead of hemoglobin, their blood contains hemocyanin, which gets its blue color from oxygenated copper. Their blood is so valuable to the medical industry that a gallon costs around $60,000. The sting of the tarantula hawk wasp is so unbearable that victims are often advised to lie down and start screaming to avoid further injury. In 2018, Russian scientists collected and analyzed 300 prehistoric worms from Arctic permafrost. After being thawed, 2 of the worms began to move and eat. Both of the worms are estimated to be well over 30,000 years old. Author Lewis Carroll wanted to marry an 11-year-old girl named Alice when he was 31. It is widely accepted that Alice in Wonderland was inspired by his obsession for little Alice Liddell. This is what the skull of a bone cancer patient looks like. Maggie the Wonder Dog was found pregnant and blinded with 17 gunshot wounds on the streets of Lebanon. Now she's a certified therapy dog and has a large following on Instagram. An Italian company has designed organic burial pods that are completely biodegradable. It will convert the dead into nutrients for trees to grow on. So instead of a graveyard, this will create a sacred forest of new life. Lil Wayne accidentally shot himself in the chest when he was 12 years old. A policeman by the name of Uncle Bob came to his rescue after multiple officers stepped over him. Until as recently as 1985, doctors believed that babies couldn't feel pain and performed surgeries on them without anesthesia. Due to their unique spinal structure, elephants are not meant to carry heavy loads on their backs. They often suffer severe spinal injuries as a result of carrying tourists around for several hours each day.